So Ken Hanley, thank you for talking to the students at the University of Waterloo today. You're an experienced project management consultant. You've got your own project management consultancy business, and you've worked on projects all over the world and in many different industries. So your experience will be valuable today. The first question I've got is really to ask you to describe how your career led you to this point that you're at today, and what you do in your role, how you would describe that as a project management consultant.
Well, Peter, if I was going to call it cynical, call it honest if you'd like, I'm probably a project manager because I'm not capable of doing anything else particularly well. What I mean by that is I came up through a technical background. I was a programmer, not a particularly good one. I was a systems analyst. I was okay at that. I was a database analyst. I was all right at that, but nothing that I could write home about. So what I think I was able to do is pull all those disparate pieces together. Not that I'm so good at doing things myself, but I seem to understand what needs to be done in what order. And I have a fairly good affinity in working with people, which goes to a point you and I have already discussed, that the technical skill set of a project manager is definitely less important than their ability to work with people. How I fell into it was working on projects that, back a number of years ago, project work wasn't even identified as project work. It was the nascent days of PM in IT, as a matter of fact. And it occurred to me there must be a better way to do this. We were stumbling along and hoping that what we do makes sense in the end. And I happen to have the very good fortune to get into the program at the University of Calgary with Dr. Francis Hartman, who was doing some revolutionary work on what I'd call non-boring project management. And I ended up staying long enough to do my master's in engineering and project management, and it seems to have stuck. So I fell into it by good luck and accident, and probably because I'm not competent to do anything else.
Well, it sounds like you're very competent at this, and you've said that being done with a project doesn't mean that you've won in relation to project management. So what do project managers need to do to win?
That's interesting, because project managers, when I talk to project managers and look at what they're measuring and what they're tracking, they tend to focus on cost and budget. I understand that. They're the easier things to do, not cost and budget, cost and schedule. Any idiot knows what day it is against what day you said you were going to do something. But it's interesting, we fixate on those where the real measures of success on a project are ultimately the project performance. You and I have talked before, the third corner of the project priority triangle being project performance, which is a combination of scope and quality. That is how much and how well. We fixate on done, we fixate on tasks. We forget that the most important thing is to measure success. I'm amazed at how many projects I can step into that are millions of dollars into, and I ask the simple question, guys, what are the 3 or 4 markers, objective, widely verifiable, every stakeholder agrees, these are the measures that tell you you've been successful. How do you know you won? And I get blank looks. I don't understand how you can start any project of any size with a clear description up front. I mean, Stephen Covey said, the habits of highly effective people start with the end in mind. I don't understand how you can't start with the end in mind. As a matter of fact, I always say that amateur project managers start at the beginning, the pros start at the end. What I mean by the pros, they start by asking the question, okay, guys, when are we finished? When do we all agree we're finished? And it's usually not when we go live. If I'm the manager of system development, I think the project's done when the system goes live. I bet you $5. The help desk manager doesn't think like that. Our business people don't think like that. They've got measures of success that occur after that point. So we've got to make damn sure that our deliverables that constitute done on the project. By the way, this is why a lot of projects run into trouble between handing over from a project work to operational mode. It gets blurred as to when the project stops and operation starts. That is a critically important discussion to have up front. To say these are the things that tell us we're finished, and at the point we're finished, these are the deliverables that tell us we've been successful. It's quite possible to be finished and not successful. In other words, it's possible to be done and not won. One is the critical measures, and I don't want 20 of them. I want 4 or 5 things that everybody can say, I can tattoo them on the forehead of everybody on the team. I can hang them outside the building and say, if we do these 4 measurable things, no one has a choice except to tell us we're ridiculously successful. Here's the signature of the sponsor, and here's all our important stakeholders agree.
Thank you. And you've also said that project management involves being concerned about the ends rather than the means. And you've discussed that a little bit.
Well, it drives me crazy that project managers are more concerned with their Gantt charts and their PERT charts. And I talk about the dangerous kind of project manager. Dangerous kind of the project manager, the first thing they want to do is put their project into Microsoft Project. And then they want to print it out in color. And then they want to plasticize it. And once they've got a plasticized Gantt chart, they figure that's a proxy for a project under control, which is absolutely wrong. I'm amazed at how many people are fixated with the tasks that they have to do. And by the way, it's a problem with most of our project management software, and it's a problem with the whole thought around a work breakdown structures. It starts on a task basis. And it lets you in on a secret. It's not really a secret. Our clients really don't give a damn about our tools, our competency. They don't care about Gantt and PERTs. They don't even care about our tasks. They care about deliverables. They care about the fact that what are you doing for me that makes a difference to tell me that I'm being successful. Like, forget your Gantt chart, forget your tasks, forget your breakdowns. What are the things that you're doing that make a difference to my business? And I find that we project managers report on tasks. This is what we've been doing in the last week. We've been working on this thing. Who really cares about working on? It's the reason why percentage complete is a bad way to measure most projects. I will measure percentage complete if I'm pouring a concrete floor and I can pour 50% on the floor and say, there's 50%. But I defy you to tell me as a project manager, what's 50% of requirements gathered? And cynically, when I ask people, how do you know? I'll get an answer like, well, we're 50% of the way through. How do you know? Well, because we're 50% of the way through the schedule, or we've burned up 50% of the budget. One is not a direct proxy for the other. So our task-based focus is the wrong way to look at projects, because we should be looking at results and deliverables as opposed to tasks and activities. And unfortunately, we train around task and activity, and our tools support that.
Absolutely. Now, you've also talked about project management offices, which seem to fail pretty regularly, and you've got some pretty clear views on that.
They're a great idea that are usually phenomenally badly executed. Now, let's start with the name. I have a thing about stupid project names, and project management office has got to be one of them. I mean, if you want to brand yourself as the project Nazis that no one will like, call yourself the project management office. Not only is it's officious, it doesn't describe what you're trying to do. I've always said projects should speak to the result they're trying to get. You're not trying to get a project manager office. You're trying to get improved project performance. So why don't you call it the Project Performance Center? Why don't you talk about what you're trying to do as opposed to the tool you're trying to do it with? Calling it a project management office, it's the same stupid philosophy we have when renaming our projects. We name them after technology. That's an Oracle 11.2 upgrade. So why? Why are you doing it? Tell me the business reason. Project names should they should be long, awkward, completely unacronymable, and fully descriptive of the results you're aiming for at the process by which you get there. Naming a project after a piece of software or process is rather like, I often say to my students, organizing a family reunion in Ottawa and calling that project Air Canada. I mean, one is the way in which you get there, the other is the results you're looking for. Project Management Office is a perfect example of that. We set up a project management office. We have an objective in mind, but we make the cardinal amateur project manager's mistake number one of calling it the wrong thing. And then further, we go at it the wrong way by starting to say a project management office will set standards and tell everybody else how to run things. That's the wrong way. A project management office, forgiving how bad the name is, should be there to serve the project managers. The people who vote on whether it's successful or not should be the project managers. They should be able to vote the PMO off the island if it's not providing services. The way to start a project management office is to say to the PMs, what can we do to make your life easier? Hey, look, can we gather all the project closeout reports from the prior projects and make them available to you? Hey, can we gather project closeout reports from other industries and provide them to you? Would it be helpful if we did an extract of the risks and the outcomes on prior projects? Hey, could we run a Monte Carlo simulation for you of your range of uncertainty, see how that looks? What can we do for you, as opposed to you will report this way? This is your standard. No PM wants to meet somebody from the PMO saying, you must do this thing. If you say, we can help, that's what the project management office should be about. And the more helpful the project management office is, the more you get the growth of the organic output of that. That is the beginning of standards. Hey, that makes sense. Can we use that too, as opposed to forcing it down people's throats? So I would argue that the project management office, terrible name aside, is an outstanding idea that is mostly ass backward in terms of the way it starts off, when it starts off from dictating as opposed to supporting. So I would argue, if your project management office is set up to set standards and tell people what to do, you're looking at it backwards and you're heading for failure.
Absolutely. And when projects fall behind schedule, people often talk about fast tracking them. And you've talked about fast tracking. Can you talk about your feelings about that?
There is a discipline around fast tracking, and it's a discipline that you start from the very beginning. It's not when, if someone is falling behind on the project and says, we've now got a fast track, that's a sign of a problem for me. And there are engineering disciplines around fast tracking, and they have specific steps that you take. They definitely increase the risk on a project. To say you're fast tracking just means we're failing, but we need to fail faster. I'm amazed at how many people call it this is a must-do project, as an example. Can't tell you how many must-do projects I've seen canceled. When my clients say, this is an absolute must-do project, I'll ask the question, well, what if the budget goes twice as high and the schedule goes twice as long? Oh, then we wouldn't do it. Well, then it's not a must-do project. Fast tracking is the same way. Well, we need to go fast. You do realize that when you go faster, generally it costs you more. Generally, you're going to have to compromise on performance. And you're going to have to give on other quarters of the project priority triangle. But don't just talk to me about fast tracking without talking about the implications in the other corner. You can do whatever the hell you want. You just can't do it for free. What I hear people say is, don't change anything else, but go faster. We know in our reptilian project manager's brain that that is wrong. It's never our job to say no to a client. It is our job to say, here's the implications of what you're asking. If you want to go faster, your risks are increased, your costs are increasing, and you're probably going to have to throw some scope performance overboard. Unemotionally, what do you want to see? I'm only irresponsible if I take on fast track simply as a stated fact.
Absolutely. Well, Ken, thank you for answering these questions. This is the first half of a two-part interview that we've done. The people who are watching it don't know the effort that it took to be able to do this. But we do, and I just want to say thank you for doing the videos, which I know will be very valuable to the students who are going to watch them.
Always a pleasure, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.